Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm sorry it's been a little while since the last video. I'm desperately trying to get up to 500 subscribers so I can get a little bit of funding from YouTube to help with these videos. So at the moment I'm just doing them when I can really find the time, because I can't justify putting a lot of time into it until I can get a little bit of money out of it. So with that said, if you do get a chance to subscribe, please do so, and hopefully more content will come. But this video is a really cool one because I'm using the Shelly +1 devices. This is a 4-pack here. They're not expensive. They're about £25 each, and they're so powerful you can solve a lot of problems with them. Now this particular job, we've got a builder that's gone in to do an extension on a house, and the electrician working for the builder ripped out all the cables from the existing installation, stripped the place back so they could do this extension. And when they finished the job, they realized that they'd ripped out a cable leading from the outside of the house to the consumer unit that was feeding a photocell. And that photocell's task was to turn on all the perimeter lights. They were kind of like eaves lights, downlighters up in the eaves. So they had no cable actually tasked to turn them on. And the client wanted them to come on when it was dark. So the idea of the electrician was to try and do it off a timer, which doesn't work because daylight changes as you approach summer, and it changes as you approach winter, and it changes day by day. So you need a photocell. But you also need a timer function as well. And the reason for that is you may not want these lights on all night long. You might want them to come on when it gets dark. Could be like, say, 9 p.m. in the summer. But you don't want them on right through the night. So maybe 11 p.m. you want them to go off again. So you need a timer to ignore the photocell, and you need the photocell to activate them. And they lost that cable. So I'm going to show you how I used 2 Shelly devices so that a photocell on a completely different building, not attached to the house, that was turning on lights around a garage, was able to communicate with another Shelly device on the house so that they both turn on at the same time. And then using a script, which is a piece of computer code, JavaScript, a special JavaScript for the Shelly device, we were able to tell both devices to ignore the photocell input at 11 p.m. Now, how I did that was quite simple, and that's coming up right now. So let's look at the installation. We've got the main house and we've got a garage. In the main house we've got distribution unit number 1, and we're also going to introduce a Shelly +1 device at the distribution unit. In the garage we've got a distribution unit, let's call it distribution unit number 2, and in the garage we're going to introduce a Shelly +1 device. Now the benefit of the garage is that we have a photo sensor on the outside of the garage on the wall that's wired towards the distribution unit. That's what's missing from the main house. So we've got cabling going from the photocell to the distribution unit. We're going to cable the Shelly +1 into the distribution unit, and we've already got existing cables from the distribution unit to the lighting system. Now in the main house, remember we lost the cabling for the photocell. So now we're going to wire the Shelly device, and also we've got an existing cable going to the lighting circuit. And that's the installation setup. So now let's have a look at distribution 1 in the house. We've got our Shelly device and we've got a 6 amp breaker which is going to power the lighting circuit. And the lighting circuit is all coming back to this distribution unit. It's shown in the diagram here on the right. It says 2 lights. So we need to wire this in now. So the Shelly device needs a permanent live to power it. So let's draw a permanent live. We also need to put a permanent live into the input of the Shelly relay, because ultimately we're going to be switching live. So let's just show that live coming from the breaker, powering the Shelly and also the relay input. Next, let's look at the neutral. The Shelly device needs a neutral, permanent, and also the lighting circuit needs a permanent neutral to the lights. So there we have it. Now the next thing we need to do now is to power the lights from the output of the Shelly relay. So when the Shelly device activates the relay, the live input is sent to the output, as you can see here, and we're going to send that output direct to the lighting circuit. There's no switching for this lighting circuit locally. It's only turned on via the Shelly device. So it's purely an automated lighting circuit. Now it would have had a photocell to activate it, but that cable is gone. Now this is the distribution unit I saw when I opened it. There was originally a timer in there, which you can see here. This is the Shelly device that I'm introducing. So it's got its permanent power, live and neutral, and then a live into the relay input. Now this here is the lighting circuit. There was lots of different lighting circuits all coming back in, connected together, ultimately to one core, which sent power to several areas with lighting. We're all coming back to this distribution unit, and originally fed from a contactor that was associated with a time switch. So I'm going to completely do away with this time switch, get rid of all that cabling into the contactor, and the Shelly device is going to power the lights. So in the garage now we have a similar setup, but with the addition of a photocell. So again, the Shelly device needs a permanent live. We also need a permanent live into the relay input of the Shelly device, because we're going to be switching lives. Now here we've got the photocell cables coming into the distribution unit, and there's 3 wires associated with the photocell. You've got the live in and the neutral to power it, and then there's a live out which triggers when it gets dark. So we're going to put live directly into the photocell. All this wiring is happening in the distribution unit. So now let's look at neutrals. So we need 3 neutrals here. First of all, the Shelly device needs a permanent neutral. The photocell also needs a permanent neutral. So that's the photocell's neutral. And then finally the lighting circuit, which is returning into the distribution unit, needs a permanent neutral. So next we need to look at powering the lights. Now the lights are going to be controlled by the Shelly device. So the output of the Shelly device is a live, and we're going to send that live output to the lights. So when the Shelly device closes the relay, the lights go on. But the Shelly device also has a capability of a local switch. Now, instead of a switch on the wall, we're going to use the photocell to activate the Shelly device locally, to tell it to close the relay when it gets dark. So that is a live out from the photocell, and that's going to go into the Shelly device, into the input SW, switch input. When that switched input has a live introduced, it tells the Shelly device to close the relay, joining input to output, turning the lights on. And that's our setup in the garage. This was the distribution unit in the garage, and there's the timer that they had originally turning the lights on and off. Notice this is 6 amp MCB. Isolate the power before taking the lid off, and you'll see inside that the timer is on the left, and I'm going to completely remove all the cabling from the timer and do away with it, and then we'll introduce the Shelly device. So there you can see the timer now is still in situ, but it's completely unwired, and now the Shelly device has the switched input from the photocell. It has a live and a neutral. It has a live in to the relay, and then the live out of the relay goes to the lighting circuits. Now we're on the control app, and we've got this system set up as a room called outside lights, which has 3 Shelly devices on it at the moment. One of them is for our main house lights, the other one is for the garage lights, and then there's a third one which is some floodlighting, which is separate. Now we want to program it so that when the garage lights come on, the house lights come on. So we've gone into scenes, and we're going to set up a scene. So add a scene. We want it device based, so we've selected device based. Next, which device? So let's have a look. We want it to be garage lights. So when the garage lights device does something, and what? Well, when the output state is on, so when the output turns the lights on the garage, we want to trigger. Now what do we want to trigger? An action, and that's device based as well. Which device? Now this time we're going to choose the house. And what do we want to do? We want the house lights to go on. So when the garage lights go on, we want the house lights to go on. Next, we don't want any delay. We're happy with that. We want it to happen 7 days a week, all day long. And we want this to be active when we enter it. We're going to give it a picture, and we're going to call it auto lights on. Now we need to add another scene. There's our one scene. We need to add another scene now for when the lights go off. So add in a device based. Which device? Again, the garage lights, because they have the photocell. When they go off, we want to trigger an action, and we want that device based. Which device? Well, this time we're going to choose the house. What do we want to do? We want the house to go off at the same time. Don't want any delay. just the one device, every day of the week, all day long. And we're going to give it a picture, and we're going to call this one Auto Lights Off. So there's our two scenes. When the garage lights go on, the house lights will go on. When the garage lights go off, the house lights will go off. So selecting the garage lights now, we're going to go into the scripting menu. It's the two little squiggly signs. And we're going to add a script, create a new script. And we get this page. Now I'm going to paste in the computer code here. It's a JavaScript for Shelly. Now this particular code, what it's actually doing is, first of all, we're introducing the times of the day that we don't want this light to be activating. So the photocell turns the lights on, but when it gets to 11 o'clock at night, we don't want them anymore. So even if the photocell's saying I want the lights on, we're going to override that with this code. So between the hours of 11 at night and 9 the next morning, this functionality tells the system to ignore the switched input from the photocell and turn the lights off anyway. So I've saved that, and then I need to start the script. So there's the start, like a play button. So it's now running that code. And we come back out, so the code is in there. Now just to test the mimicking functionality, if I turn the garage lights on, let's just try that. And you see immediately the house lights come on at the same time. If I turn the garage lights off, the house lights go off. But not when I do the same to the house lights. If I put the house lights on, only they go on, because the scenes were set up based on what the garage does, not the house. And the house just follows suit. So there you have it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. It's quite a complicated one, that one, but it really shows the diversity of these Shelly devices. What we did there was we set up some scenes, so one device would cause another device to mimic its output. So basically when the garage was told to switch on by the photocell, it then sent a signal through the control app to tell the house lights to come on at the same time. So it's great because, you know, sometimes photocells are in different positions. So you could end up with lights around a property coming on at slightly different times. Using this sort of feature, it all happens at the same time. It's pretty cool. The JavaScript or Shelly version of Java, which I showed you, the scripting, is a great tool because it's sort of endless limits of what sort of algorithms you can put in and logic. Shelly devices work with lots of external sensors. It's pretty much whatever you can think of, you can add to it. You could sense temperature, you could sense the amount of sunlight, light intensity, wind speed, air pressure, lots of different things, flow of water perhaps, and all these sensors could give an input to the Shelly device, and then using that data you could program your device to carry out certain functionality. The JavaScript is quite complicated. There is a Shelly course available for people that want to do it. I started doing that and then suddenly realized when I got right to the end that a lot of it you could just type your request into ChatGPT or Grok and it will write the code for you immediately. It was a great way for me to learn it, and I'm fairly confident with it now. But for those of you that don't want to learn JavaScript or coding, you can just write your problem in plain English into ChatGPT and it will write the Shelly Java code for you that you can copy and paste into the Shelly device. There's two ways of doing that. You can use the control app like I showed you in this video, or you can do a direct connection to the device, and then you'll have to navigate through the various pages, but you can enter the scripting page there. The good thing that way is it does have a console, which is like an output, and you can get it to print out various answers to questions. Like you could ask it, how strong is the Wi-Fi signal that you're picking up right now? And it'll give you a readout and various other information like that that you can use. But I don't want to go into it too much. If you've got any more ideas of other videos I can do on these Shelly devices, I'd be more than happy to try them. If you could subscribe, that would be really useful. I'm trying to get up to 500 subscribers so that I can get a little bit of money out of YouTube to make these videos. It's not many subscribers, but I do realize this is a pretty niche sort of area, so not that many people are interested. Although there's been about 50,000 views of the few videos I've put up on Shelly devices, but only about 200 people have subscribed, which is a big problem because I get nothing unless I get to 500. So help me out with that if you can, and any suggestions on other videos would be really useful, because I'm enjoying doing this, and I'll carry on if it helps. Thanks a lot.